that wants to tame me. You can't catch me on the run, cause I'm gone, yeah. I blaze trails, set fire to what's behind me. No, I'm never looking back, I'm on the run. I could only ever be what I'm made to be. It feels good when I'm living on the edge. Watch me now, roll like thunder, gonna shake the ground. Can't stop me now, I don't give up and I won't back down. I'm a force of nature, can't be contained. I got lightning running all through my veins. Watch me now, watch me now.
Hi, I'm Wyatt Milam. I'm from Canova, West Virginia. When I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Par-Mar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Par-Mar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Par-Mar stores.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
And hello and welcome to the WolfMan's call today. I'm fired up. I don't know if you can tell us, but it's 4 o'clock. It's Wednesday and it's August 9th. I hope you're ready. I hope you're fired up to go. We got some really powerful topics here. And of course, that means we're going to have to bring in some powerful hard hitters. And we're actually going to go around the country a little bit today as well and talk about some SEC, ACC. We're going to talk to Twisted Rooster down there in South Carolina, but he covers all the SEC. And we're going to talk to, that's right, talk is Pitt. Because I'm not afraid of any Pitt Panther at all because I played against them and I want to hear what they say. As I said, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. But we got talk is Pitt, and he's going to come out. He's going to be very informed. Going to talk ACC. Got to talk quarterbacks. Got to talk, hey, what's going on there with Cal and Stanford? Are the possibility? Are they likely? I'm not sure. We're going to find out. But they're also going to be part of the panel. And don't forget, I'm bringing in the Hawkeye, man. That's right. Keith Hawkins. He's out there. He's going to be part of it. But the number one gun I always have, and that is Mr. Author, the Band of Brothers, and the sports column, and, of course, historian, and that is Frank Fear. But before we get into all that, you know I got to do this because I love my network, man. And when I'm going to throw this up here, and I can't help myself, so here we go. Shout out here, and let's start off with, we got to love Par-Mar, got to love Northern Eagle, proudly serving West Virginia. How about this? Let's start off with Archies, man. East Carson Street up there, right there. Talk is Pitt. Have you gone there yet? We'll ask him about that. How about that? Archies in Pittsburgh, Brickside Bar and Grille. Rob Davis, eat local. Woo! I'll tell you, they got some good food and over 30 draft beers. And then you got Jimbo's place where we're at this week in Buckhannon, and then Jimbo's place in Elkins. Jimmy Pointer out there, great job. The food was excellent. The wings, you saw me eating them. I think I gained 5 pounds, but it doesn't matter because we got to do what we got to do. And then, of course, I go up here in Morgantown. You got Kegler Sports Bar and Grill, Jerry Lorenz, WVU Royalty, and Legends Sports Bar and Grill out there at Cheat Lake. Aaron Gizzy, hit those links to those clubs, baby. Get out there at Lakefield, hit it. Time's winding down. And let's go to Fairmont and Morgantown because you got the Mason Jar Barbecue and more. Big Steve Reese, what's up, brother? And the Mason Jar Saloon in Morgantown and Hotspot. Woo, barbecue, man. Unbutton those britches, baby. And then we got Mel over there at the Mountaineer Tap House right there on Oakland Street where all the new students are all coming in right now. And I'm sure she's busy as heck. All those students. Woo. And then we got to head down to Teays Valley, Scott Depot. the Pallet. Haley, what's up? Big shout out to you. And we're going down to Hinton, West Virginia. We're going south now, and that is Cantrell's River City Grill and Pub. And we can't forget about Route 22 up in Weirton, West Virginia. It's right up by the concert place there. I call it Star Lake. I don't even know if it's still called that or not. But that is just huge. We love the network. The network is growing. I'm trying to bring it in slowly, but we're going to have to add some next week. So we really appreciate that. Go to your local establishment. If it's not there, say, hey, I'd love to get the WolfMan's Call. All you got to do is email wolfmanscall@gmail.com. That's all you got to do. Awesome. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button. What they say, I think Talk His Pit says smash it. I don't know. That's what he's a pit guy. He doesn't know how to smash anything. I don't know about that. But regardless, let's go ahead. Now, something real quick before we get going here, and it's really important to me. And Mike Dunlap is a Mountaineer brother, and he, of course, has just been waiting 3 years. He just got his kidney, the whole operation, and in this whole process, guess what he found out? He found out that his heart, he's got to get open heart surgery. I mean, the man has been fighting, and I want to play this because he's special. We set up a GoFundMe for him, and the reason why it's so special is because he does so much for other people, so much for West Virginians, and I think that this is absolutely crucial that you go ahead and you watch this, and think of Mike. If you can do it, I'm going to drop it right now. I'm dropping the link out for this. It's a GoFundMe link, and if you want to give, it would be a huge help. And if you can't understand it, but Mike's a good dude. So without further ado, let me go ahead and play Mike Dunlap. He's out of Charleston or Ravenswood, West Virginia, and he's a brother. He's a Mountaineer brother. There you go, Mikey.
Fire in Charleston inspired so many people across West Virginia to give back, including this week's hometown hero, Mike Dunlap.
As News Channel 3's Matt Lackridge shares, Mike fighting for his own life, but that has not stopped him from giving back.
Friends and family waited patiently to surprise this week's hometown hero, Mike Dunlap, an award they say he's earned after years of supporting the community.
Very proud. He deserves it.
A couple of weeks ago, we introduced everyone to Mike when he was gathering supplies to donate to the Charleston Regal apartment victims.
West Virginians take care of West Virginians. That's the way it should be. That's the way it's always been.
Mike organized everything and gathered an entire box truck of supplies as well as $1,000 of donations to be taken to Mountain Mission. And to those who know him best, they say this isn't the first time he's done something like this.
Mike has done this before. When there was a flood in Logan a few years ago, he took a box load of stuff over there to Hill Chiropractic in Madison.
Those who came to surprise Mike say he's always been a giving person. However, the last 6 years have been tough. Joan Dunlap says Mike has been fighting an assortment of medical problems.
Stroke in 2018, and his sugar had dropped down to the 30s, and it almost killed him. And then we found out he lost his kidneys and had to go on dialysis, and that's close to 3 years now.
Mike goes to dialysis 3 times a week for more than 4 hours a day. Joan says the dialysis has been draining, but all they can do is wait for a kidney to become available. Even so, Mike always does what he can to help those around him.
He still gives. May have to rest a little bit beforehand, but he's still very giving.
Mike, I know it's been a little bit since I've seen you, but you've actually been chosen as this week's hometown hero.
Really?
Congratulations.
Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. And while the road ahead may be tough, Mike is thankful he has so many people who support and love him.
I've been honored many times in many ways, but nothing will mean as more as this does.
There he is. All right, Mikey. Hey, listen, I dropped the link out there. It's the GoFundMe link, and you can see his own words right there. But there's nothing more special than that guy right there because he's a Mountaineer, and he's given so much of his own time. So if you can give, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If you can give, he's got a goal of $10,000. And this is a shout out to my because he's a WVU football brother, but Daryl Prue's already been on there, already given. I mean, it's just a band of brothers, to use Frank Fear's term for him. But that's who we are, and that's what we're about. So if you can give them the mic either done that, please do. It would be an awesome choice, awesome decision. All right. So with that being said, man, we're ready to rock and roll. Oh, and one last thing about Mike. He doesn't want to pity. He needs help, absolutely. But the dude's a fighter, man. Fighter. When you go 4 hours a day on dialysis for three years and 3 times a week, and then you finally get that matching kidney, and then they find out you need open heart surgery, man. Dude's tough as nails, baby. All right. With that being said, I dropped the link. Here we go. All right, so let's bring them on. It's a panel today. Let's see what we got. We're going to start off with Frank Fear, author, historian, Band of Brothers, the 50, or I'm going to screw this up now, the 60 guys, up to 60, right? Frank, you're going to help me out. I just drawn a blank here. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing really great, Wolf. Good to see you again.
Wait, what did I screw up? Like the 65 to 70 guys, right?
66 to 70, yeah.
60, all right, don't worry. I'm off by a year.
All right, don't worry about it.
What can I say, man? I just had a brain chunk out of there. All right, but happy to have you here. We got some big news going on today. You've been talking about this for the last week and a half, and then Hoppy came out, and Bob Herzl came out and going to talk about this university. But before we do that, let's get the panel on here. I can't wait, man. I can't wait because here we go. Talk is Pitt. What's up, man? How you doing, Talk? He disappeared on it. He's afraid to come on, the Panther, right? Don't know where he's at. We'll see where he went there. And from the SEC, South Carolina, we got the Twisted Rooster. There you are, talking, man. Hey, were you afraid there? He's got his headset. And
yeah, sorry about that, guys. My cellular device is dying.
Oh, beautiful. Great job with that. And it's a Pitt guy. What do you expect? And then we have the Hawkeye, Keith Hawkins. Hawkeye, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How's everybody out there doing?
I think we're doing good in this land here, man. Just trying to take care of Mikey there, as you all know him, and or most of you guys do. But Twisted Rooster, how you doing down there in the sun?
Drinking a lot of water, I can tell you that.
Yeah, all right. Very good. Well, listen, we're going to get this thing going, and we're going to get a rock and rolling. You got to talk his Pitt. Obviously, he's going to be talking about the ACC, a little bit of Pitt. We want to know what you guys are up to, and then Roosters are going to be talking about SEC, and Hawkeye's here to give his astute opinions on everything in between. And Frank Fear, let's get it started, man. You talked to me this morning. You said, hey, this is going on. This is big news. What's happening?
Well, appreciate the opportunity to share some ideas. And I'll tell you, I've already tested out these ideas with a lot of folks. Up here, I'm in Big Ten country, Michigan State country, Michigan country, and there's some people who are going to agree with the things I'm going to say, and there are a lot of folks who do not. In fact, we were talking before with Talk is Pitt. It's easy to become a punching bag when you share ideas that other people don't like. Let me just say something. First of all, I appreciate, Wolf, you even allowing and permitting this subject to come up, because there's a lot of giddiness out there in terms of the winners of this realignment. But there's something about this from the very beginning that I raised questions about. I love college football. I'm not a fan of the college football industry, and I'm not at all a fan of the NCAA. And so the bottom line here is, from my perspective, and Wolf's going to throw up a chart here in a couple seconds that reinforces it. College football in particular is like the Wild West. We're seeing that with NIL. There is absolutely no regulations. I hate to use that word, but there's really no oversight by the NCAA in terms of, particularly in terms of caps for finances. And so it's an arms race. And so the article that Wolf is showing now is the article that I put up a couple of days ago. And it's interesting because Bob Herzl, I had an exchange with him today, the Power 5 to the Power 4. His article that was all over West Virginia is, wait a minute, we're looking for a Power 2 here with the Big Ten and the SEC. And the data that I'm going to present, it'd be hard to contradict that. Because I think what's going to happen here, I think we're on a road where this realignment looks like tremendous stability for some teams. Others, like Oregon State, Washington State, they're left out. Cal as well, Stanford. But I think also what it really means is the big are going to get bigger and the richer are going to get richer.
Okay, hang on there, Frank.
Let's look at the data.
Yeah, but let's go ahead and let me just go right off the Twisted Rooster, who's SEC, and we're talking the big get bigger. That's what we're talking about, SEC there. Twisted Rooster, you seeing what Frank's putting down? Are you picking it up?
Yeah, actually, I understand a lot of what he's saying, and I've kind of said the same thing myself. The NCAA let NIL get out of hand because they restricted the kids from getting out and earning money. So then, of course, it went to court. NCAA lost. Chaos. Now it's like he said, it's the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, there's no doubt. All right, so hey, talk is Pitt, man. Hey, Pitt, ACC, that's not part of the Big Two, man. I mean, are you nervous?
If for the conference, going away, yeah. As far as like Pitt goes, I think they have a lot more options and a lot more power to push their way into a conference, even if people fight it, because that's why we're in the ACC in the first place, because Penn State fought us going into the Big Ten and won.
Oh, very good. Okay. And so, Hawk, man, what are you thinking? You're just a college fan. I know, obviously, you're a WVU fan, but you're a college man. And what do you see there? Does this make you nervous? And the fact, because Frank's got so much information, he's about to expound on everybody. You should be a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I've heard talk for several years that they wanted to get to 3 power conferences. And I think that's where we're going. I really think there's going to be 3, not 2.
Yeah, agreed.
It's interesting that Pitt and the ACC, the ACC kind of started all this years ago when they destroyed the Big East. The ACC wasn't happy.
You got to go back to the Big Ten first of all. Then, if you're going to throw that at the ACC in the hole, you got to go to the 10. That's what took Penn State.
Well, that's true, but Penn State was independent.
True.
Yeah, we were all independents, but we were part of it was the East, man. I mean, when I got the award, I was ECAC, Eastern College Athletic Conference. So, again, I hear what you're saying, but I think
but the pros are coming home to roost. I think the ACC is the next that's going to get purged, and I think it's going to be Florida State and Clemson, and it'll be a domino effect.
All right. Very good. Yeah. All right, Frank. Let's drop that info, man, because you got a ton of it. Here we go. Rock and roll.
Right. If you could put up the chart, the JPEG, throw that baby up. I think that's basically the cornerstone of what I'm talking about. And as you do that, let me say this. And Wolf, that's it right there. So you're going to have to make that bigger. Great. And Wolf and I were talking about this Wild West that I talked about and Rooster talked about. Think about this in terms of pro sports. If you think about it, the NFL has it right. It's possible for small market teams to win a championship. Look at the Buffalo Bills. They're probably the odds-on favorite. But the NFL is not like all pro sports. Think of the NHL and think of the Buffalo Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres have only made the playoff 4 times since 2001, and they haven't made the playoffs for 12 years. This is what I'm concerned about with respect to what's happening in college football. Now, let me share this with you. It looks like a lot of information, but I'll boil it down. And I don't get really into rankings, but I think in this case, it makes a lot of sense. My argument is that prestige as a university and money in sports equals power. That's where you get your prestige. And so here are 2 listings. First, academically from U.S. News and World Report, the top 25, and I want to emphasize this, public universities. And the reason public is that we can't get access to athletic information from private universities. They're not required to report. So we can't, for example, TCU, Notre Dame, we don't know. But when you look at the public universities, most recent, that's in red. And in green, the top revenue generating public athletic programs. And now these universities are categorized by the impending Power 4 affiliation with the Pac-12 absorbed. And I think this chart speaks volumes. If you look at the Big Ten, look at the number of Big Ten universities that are in the top 25 academically and also in the top 25 athletically. Not all the schools are the same because, let's be blunt, for schools like Maryland, Minnesota, Purdue, and Rutgers, academics is really important. So are sports, but academics reigns. They're replaced, though, by other schools. So they drop out of the top 25 in terms of revenues, but they're replaced by, look, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan State, Penn State, and look at the newbies. There's Oregon in the top 25 athletic revenue. There's Washington. Ohio State, by the way, is number 1 in the country. But on the academic side, you got UCLA and Washington. I'm not a homer, even though I worked at a Big Ten school for almost 40 years. Big Ten is in the catbird seat, academically and athletically. Compare that to the SEC. What you have there is matching, exceeding the Big Ten in terms of athletic revenues of schools in the top 25. A&M, Arkansas, Auburn, Bama, Florida, etc. You only have 3 SEC schools that are in the top 25 in the country, public, 3, and they're all in the top 25 athletically. Florida, Georgia, Texas. They're good, really solid academic schools, and we know what Georgia can do, and we know what Alabama's all about. And then you go down to the ACC. Again, the ACC is known nationally primarily for its academic excellence. Duke's not on this list because it's private. Wake Forest is not on this list. It's private. Syracuse is private. So you got Florida State, Georgia Tech, Pitt, North Carolina, etc. But then you look at the athletic revenues, only 4 schools are in the top 25. And you can see why Florida State and Clemson are pissed. They want a bigger part of the pie. So the drum roll is come down to the Big 12, and you get 0-0. There is not one Big 12 school that is in the top 25 academically as a public university, and there's not one Big 12 school, current or impending, that is in the top 25 revenues. So the point I would make, and I'm going to stop here, is how in the hell is the Big 12 going to compete against these juggernauts, the Big 10 and the SEC? What I'm concerned about is this may turn out a Major League Baseball situation where you got these small market teams that are present in the league, but they don't have much of a presence. So what I'd like to see, Wolf and I talk about this, NCAA put some kind of reasonable caps in order, financial caps. A team like the Buffalo Bills, a smaller market team. Otherwise, what we're going to have is we're going to have a college football playoff that's going to be dominated by teams. And it's not always big money always doesn't lead to championships. Texas is a beautiful example of that. So is A&M. They're always at the top of the list. So this is concerning to me. I can't predict the future, but I will tell you this. I read all this giddiness about realignment, and West Virginia is in great shape. We're in the Big 12. The question I ask is stability for how long?
Well, that takes me right then to talk his pick. We're talking stability, ACC, and right now, to me, the Big 12 seems like they're happier with what they got. And don't forget, these teams in the Big 12 are all about college teams, college sports. Okay, so what you're seeing with me is that it's about the college towns. There's not NFL. There's not pro teams in there. Pittsburgh is not that way, talk is Pitt. Steelers are number one. We all know that. But they also got other pro sports in town. And Pitt takes a back seat to some, certainly the Steelers. We'll just go with that in football. And does that present a problem did you see for Pitt being there? Or is it not a problem? Because what Frank just gave us is really very precise, top 25 academics, top 25 revenue. And Pitt is not in the revenue, is it? I don't see it in there. I see it in academics, but not in the revenue.
He does bring up a valid point. That's probably one, if not the only hurdle that the Panthers are going to have to overcome. Is, you are right, we are in a pro sports city. We're not even going to call it pro sports. We're just in a sports driven city. And also we're one of the few colleges or universities that has more than one campus or more than one university on the same block. There's Pitt, Carnegie Mellon, and then there's actually four. There's Chatham University, there's Carlow University. Literally, if you start from Fifth Avenue going up into the Oakland section of the city of Pittsburgh, you're going to run past about 5 or 6 different universities. And that's the biggest problem that we face, is we're surrounded by, one, so many universities, two, the Steelers will always reign supreme. It doesn't matter how bad they do. Even the Penguins reign supreme over the Panthers in this city. And we've always had that problem with competing for attendance. We've always had an attendance problem, even when we had our own stadium. We always had a what I like to call fair weather fan problem. So only people care whenever Pitt do good, and not like me. Well, I watch Pitt even if they don't win games for a whole season. And we have so many things stacked against us as far as just, pulling in revenue and stuff like that. But I still believe Pitt is in a position, because of what they've done in the past and what they're currently projected to do now. I think, we have a better shot if the ACC dissolves to go to the Big 12. But he also brings up a point. None of the Big 12 schools are, how should I say this, in the top 25 as far as academics. And, I think what the Big 12 will end up saying is, oh, well, Pitt's too smart for us.
Well, you know what? I kind of disagree with that, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it would be a great rivalry to have Cincinnati there, to have Pitt, and maybe bring in a Syracuse, maybe a Virginia. I mean, you could go ahead and form that East of what you're talking about. I don't think they're going to say it's too smart, because I still think, looking at the SEC, Twisted Rooster, you only got 3 teams top 25 there in academics, but you really don't care because SEC supreme number 1 in football. So really, what does academics mean? Because you guys are bringing in all the money.
Yeah, it's tradition in the South. Vandy does miss off the list because they're a private school. But the South, they do care. You hear a lot about graduation rates and stuff like that. But as far as like being AAU and that type of thing down here in the South, they really, it doesn't. As long as their graduation rate's great for their students and their student athletes, I don't think they worry about an income academically, because our football programs are going to make $50-60 million a year. How it sits, so athletics is covered, and a lot of schools in the South don't have donors that donate towards academics, which that hurts when you don't have that.
It certainly hurts academically, and when you think about it, so Frank, it's good notes, but Texas was with us, so we did have one, or we still do, at least for another year for academics. We could claim that for a year. But Hawkeye, let's talk about this, man. What Frank's point is when you have this type of disparity, okay, it's not that there's this type of disparity here. It's like, well, this is where it's going to keep going. It's got to keep going. The ups are going to go up. The haves and the have-nots are going to go down. And he was talking about some type of cap, not for raising income, but cap that you can put into your program, I believe, right, Frank? I mean, because you can't limit how much people are going to donate, how much you're going to buy your T-shirts. You can't, but there's got to be a limit of how much you can spend. I think is what the caps. I think is what you're looking for the universe. Am I right about that? And Hawkeye, what do you say to that?
Well, you know, the NFL, when they decided to put a cap on spending, what you could spend on a team, it created real parity in the NFL. You know, we don't have a lot of repeat Super Bowl champions anymore. So I agree with what Frank's saying. But the thing to think about here, gentlemen, with this conference realignment, and we don't know where it's going to stop. I think the ACC has kind of got a bullseye on it. I think the other three conferences are looking at them, but the conferences, they're not building on academics. They're building on sports revenue. I don't think they're really looking at, you know, the prestige factor of a college. You know, well, they've got great high academics. Look at Stanford. Look where they're sitting at right now. That's one of the top colleges in the country when it comes to academics, and nobody's knocking on their door. So I don't think academics is going to play a lot into this at the end of the day.
Yeah, you know what? I was recruited by Stanford until they got my transcripts. And then they stopped recruiting me. Although I did make it into Penn State. I did make it into Michigan. So I can't say I didn't make it into any Blue Bloods. But let's go with it. Okay, so when you're looking at that, it's a great point you really bring up there is that how much academically is this going to? Because when you want to talk academics, the new thing is this, Frank, what's the student athlete in this academic world? Who are they? What are they? You know, I mean, that's the question that's coming up.
Yeah, you know, I've made this point before in the show. As far as I'm concerned, from a functional analysis, and what I mean by that, it's not jargon. It's how they spend their time, how many hours they spend, their employees. That's pretty much, I think, what they are. But going back to Keith's point, I think this is really important. On the face of it, academics doesn't mean anything. But what you got in that top tier of academic schools, you've got tremendous alumni, you have physicians, you have lawyers, you have dentists, you've got CEOs, and you've got a hell of them. And they're behind their brand, they're giving. You know, my son Frank Jr., you met him, Wolf, and so did you, Keith, a couple months ago. He was invited to the Jim Harbaugh annual football golf tournament. And I asked him, he's a Michigan State grad, I asked him what it was like. And the first thing he said was, Frank Jr. said was, the money there was stunning. The money that was there at that tournament that Jim Harbaugh hosted, he was the MC, was stunning. And so that's what we're up against. It's not just academics, but it's this brand of these schools like Michigan, like UCLA, like Washington. And to your point, and I'll stop with this, we had two schools that had that national cachet, and they left, Texas and Oklahoma. They are national brands, and guess who got them? The SEC. So I'm looking at power and influence and money coming together and then expressing itself through sports. So it's anybody's guess, but that's where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm. We got there Mark Rogers, voice of college football. Yeah. All right. He's checking it out, getting that information because he's going to be dropping a ton of information all season long. Mark Rogers, voice of college football. Make sure you check him out on YouTube and Mark Rogers TV on Twitter. All right. So let me go ahead and let me hit this up. This is Eli Drinkwitz, head coach at Missouri. And with all this conference realignment we're talking about, I think it's fitting that I go ahead and bring this in.
All right, I'm going to say it. I thought the transfer window, I thought the portal was closed. That's just for the student athletes. The adults in the room get to do whatever they want, apparently. And it's, it's just sad that there's, look, my question is, did we count the cost? I'm not talking about a financial cost. I'm talking about, did we count the cost for the student athletes involved in this decision? What cost is it to those student athletes? We're talking about a football decision. They based off football, but what about softball and baseball who have to travel cross country? Do we ask about the cost to them? Do we know what the number one indicator of symptom of or cause of mental health is? It's lack of rest and sleep. Traveling in those baseball, softball games, you know, those people, they travel commercial. They get done playing at 4. They got to go to the airport. They come back. It's 3 or 4 in the morning. They got to go to class. I mean, did we ask any of them? Are we going to look back? I don't worry at all about the game. The game is going to be strong. Football's going to be fine. We'll all figure it out. But did we consider the people that we are entrusted with? Did we consider the student athlete?
And the answer is a big fat no. We did not go ahead and consider that. There's no way you could consider that, even come close to thinking about that. If you want to, and again, let's go to ASU, Utah. You can do whatever you want to say about all that. To West Virginia, you could go, Texas Tech to UCF, whatever. You could go now. You go Big Ten, USC, UCLA. You have Oregon. You got Washington State to the Big Ten. How about the Rutgers? Right? I mean, all that. How about the Maryland? That's coast to coast. And now you're talking possibility, and talk is Pitt. How about this? Oh, ACC. Are they going to take Stanford? Are they going to take Cal?
I personally see no benefit besides football in the ACC taking Cal and Stanford, because like the Missouri head coach said, and even I said this on my live stream a couple hours ago, we're not thinking about the mental health of our student athletes, and all people want to see is dollar signs, dollar signs, dollar signs. That's all people care about. And what's going to end up happening is, if other sports are going to have to travel across country, they're not going to last very long. It's going to get so bad to the point where teams just don't have enough players to fill. And what student athletes are going to end up doing is going to what I call intramural sports that are within the university but not regulated by the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty much just going to create their own, be like, look, we can't handle the travel, so we're going to do something in-state or in one of the states that's not too hard to travel to, but we're not going all the way to the West Coast.
All right, so Keith, I'm sorry, go ahead. You want to finish?
Yeah, which is why I'm not in favor of bringing in Cal or Stanford. I'd rather them bring in SMU than anything.
Okay. All right, then Keith, Hawkeye. How about this? West Virginia soccer, men's soccer, women's soccer is Big 12. But they don't have men's soccer to Big 12, or at least they did before it was Big 16. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but they've been going to where? To the Mid-American, right? To the MAC.
Sun Belt, the Sun Belt Conference.
And they must have just switched because they've been playing Akron, and all those teams have been American, the men's.
Yeah, I thought they went to the Sun Belt last year.
Well, all right. There goes my
I don't follow
knowledge on soccer. All right, so there you go.
I don't think any of us does.
Yeah. So, but again, as an example, is that these what I'm going to call for Frank Fear, so he doesn't say anything else but Olympic sports. All right, is that it's go ahead. The Olympic sports are going to have to find other ways. As Talk is Pitt is actually bringing some good points here. Twisted Rooster, what say you? Is Oklahoma in trouble being on the outskirts of the SEC and having to look in? And all these other SEC teams are power base, and it's the old power base, and Oklahoma's there. And, Colin Cowherd put up a good point. Could Oklahoma become the next Nebraska for the Big Ten?
I don't think so. I think there's enough schools close enough to Oklahoma. You still got both the Texas schools out there. You still got Missouri. You got Arkansas. You got a lot of schools in the SEC that's in a similar, really close footprint as Oklahoma. Oklahoma's got money. I don't think they really suffer at all. And I get what Eli's saying about the travel on athletes. But as we all learned during COVID, right, everyone went to school online. So you can say it's an expense, but say East Coast team is going to go to the West Coast and they have to play baseball or, one of these sports where it takes days, golf, whatever. They're going to stay out there. It's not like they're going to fly there, fly back home, because we discovered everyone can take classes on a computer. They can get their rest. There's enough money out there for them to put these kids in nice hotels and make sure they're getting them nice dinners and all this stuff. And you can teach them right there on the road. We've seen smaller football teams do that because they don't really have the money to travel back and forth. I can't remember who the smaller college football team last year went out to Texas and just kind of stayed in Texas because they played a couple games in a row and they practiced on the high school field and they were in hotels and they still got to do. COVID taught people a lot of things, and I think that's where a lot of people's minds are now. Student athletes can now do it online.
So Twisted, you're saying you don't give a darn.
Well, I'm just saying people they think these kids are going to spend their life on an airplane. You think about a college football player right now, and I know the non-revenue sports don't get the same things as a college football team. Like they're not on private charters. They don't have people feeding them and giving them water and everything on an airplane like the football teams do. But I think the way you look at it now is the world taught us something because, and you don't have to be in class every day. You can still go to school. Look how many people in the world right now go to school online and get their degrees. Older people that go back to school. So the world taught you that. You just got to, as a school, you got to think about what you're doing when you're doing it. On the ACC deal with Cal and Stanford, if you're going to do that, you might as well add Oregon State, Washington State, SMU, put some more schools out there. I just don't see the ACC adding anyone because the ACC's got to watch their own back right now.
All right. Hawkeye, what you got to say to that?
Well, I will let Frank, since he is the educator, but I do know there's a lot of argument, number one, to the online learning, especially in high schools and intermediate schools. We heard that after COVID, how far kids had fell behind. They needed that in-person instruction. That's probably more something that Frank could touch on. But the travel, now, Dale, you traveled with the team, and when we went into the Big 12, WVU had to do a lot of traveling. But did we not start adjusting like basketball and baseball so that we could go like into Texas and stay for several days or a week?
Yeah, basketball, we go 2 games in a row. So you do a Saturday or a big Monday or Tuesday, whatever it was. Maybe it would be a Tuesday, Saturday, whatever that was. They would go and try to stay there for 4 or 5 days. That is true. I also know that was a grind on them now. I just let everybody know that. Now, the other thing that I will sit there and say is baseball, they're doing a whole series out there. So when WVU, and I can only go off of WVU, so that's why I'm using these references. When WVU goes to Texas, WVU goes to TCU, WVU goes to Texas Tech, they're out there for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday game. Sometimes they would double up and do a double header. If they had to get back, it was a long travel, like probably at Texas Tech. And so, that they have been doing that. I don't think that the online issue is as big of a deal in college. I will say that in school, when you're just getting your fundamentals in grade school and middle school and high school, I agree with that. I do think there's a big tax. Well, when you go with soccer and you go baseball and those teams, they fly commercially, man. There's a huge, huge difference flying commercial than there is charter. It's like the night and day. Opposites. It's like, so football is not a problem. You can travel. You see the NFL do it. The guys, they can actually do homework online on the plane now. I mean, we really wanted to talk about it on these charters. But the idea of them not being able, but again, when you got to go commercial and you're a soccer team, you got 30 people. or 25 people plus staff. That's a big on a commercial plane. That is not easy, and that's moving around. So there are difficulties for that. I do think of that. I do think if some of those teams could build other type of closer geographical leagues, and they could find out, instead of saying you got to go Big 12 and you got to go to ASU WVU, that would be nice. I say, Frank, I got to go to you on this. What say you on that? I mean, you want to see other leagues form for the Olympic sports or the non-revenue sports, as Twisted was calling it? What say?
Well, I think the big problem we have here, and it's quite stunning. It's so stunning that it has to have a simple explanation. I can't think of an organization anywhere, certainly those I've been involved in, where the oversight is do whatever you want. And that's what we have with the NCAA. They do not step in and provide any leadership in terms of let's work together to be able to come up with meaningful solutions. I really like the way Deion Sanders put it in his press conference, because he's good for a soundbite. He said, everybody's chasing the bag, money. Everybody's chasing the bag. So there are all kinds, Wolf, there are all kinds of creative ways for schools to get what they want and for some reasonableness to be inserted in this for the student athlete and for others. But the reason why it doesn't happen is that the conferences don't work together. They compete with each other, and they do not want the NCAA to exert oversight. Look what the NCAA is doing. To deal with the nil situation, they're going to Congress.
Yeah.
They want Congress to come up with a solution.
I think that the whole Power 5, G5 was the initial split where they said, screw you, NCAA. We're going to do what we want to do. And that's given everything. That was the first step. When the NCAA said, okay, you're going to have your second tier, and if you guys want to spend more money, you want to invest more, you want to do this, that was the first separation. That was the first separation, at least officially, even though there was separation with the money and all that beforehand, but that made it official. The Power 5 school. Right, Talking Spit?
Yeah.
Got you yawning, so that's why I called you out.
I'm a parent, and my daughter's driving me nuts right now. She's right over there making stupid faces.
That's all right. Hey, look, we like that. We like stupid faces being made at Pitt Panthers.
Well, I make stupid faces at our fan base before, and even Mark Rogers was surprised that I was so harsh and critical on our fan base. And I even told you this last week, Wolfman. The fan base that annoys me the most is my own.
Yeah, I know. That's why I invited you back.
And I just don't think Pitt fans, when it comes to this whole conference realignment, they're not using logic. They're like, well, we need to go this place. We need to go that place. And I'm like, well, what about the other sports? About softball, soccer, hockey, lacrosse, field hockey. I mean, these people have to provide the cost of transportation out of their own pockets sometimes. I even know, one of my family members, he used to play softball for Pitt years ago. We wanted to travel to another state to play another team. It came out of our own pockets.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the biggest problem is if there is an unequal revenue share, it's not between just, in my opinion, not between just the, all the conferences when it comes to football. It's an unequal revenue share through all the sports. Not just football, not just being in a conference. It's all the sports. Honestly, the people suffering the most are the athletes that don't play football.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so getting back to football, though, is Stanford and Cal going to go to the ACC? Or is the Big Ten going to pluck the FSU and Clemson out of there and cause an issue? Because the ACC, can it stand without Clemson and FSU?
Yes and no. To me, that's a yes and no question. I think it's yes, depending on what the ACC does before Clemson, Miami, and Florida State decide to leave. I mean, because they've been chomping at their mouth. We want out, blah blah blah. We're not getting our share that we should, and they're right. They are right. Why would you want to sit here for the next 13 years when the SEC, Big Ten, and whatever other conference you can come up with is making $50 to $70 million a year when they're barely even making 40? And I understand their frustration, but I think what the ACC is trying to do, bringing in even SMU, let's add them in there. Because believe it or not, to me, SMU brings a lot of value to whatever conference they're going to go to, just because they're already in that market. They're preparing for Clemson, Florida State, and Miami to leave, so they're going to bring in 3 other people to fill those spots.
Gotcha. All right. So, Twisted. Is the SEC just sitting there all fat and happy? They're number one with all the money, and they apparently, I'm not sure. Are they looking for any teams? Are they looking to possibly take Florida State? Maybe Clemson as well, but how about Florida State was thinking about SEC? That would fit right in down south.
Well, Greg Sankey will always tell you the SEC is good. We don't go out looking for teams that come to us. That was the same thing he said for Texas, Oklahoma. We didn't go looking for Texas, Oklahoma. Texas and Oklahoma came looking for the SEC. The biggest problem I had, like Florida State, everyone argues this. Florida State, the problem is they can't get out of their contract. We can argue about it till we're purple in the face. Without $300 million, which I've heard so many different things about Florida State going to JP Morgan trying to get a loan, for the Saudis coming in. I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. Y'all are getting a little out of hand with this stuff now. That grant of rights deal that they're signed into, I even asked this question because I haven't read it. If they expand, does it open it up for teams to get out? It does not. Even if they expanded and took SM, Cal, Stanford, it does not open the door for Clemson, Florida State, or any other team to leave. Now, I did cause some chaos because I asked, what if the SEC, if what Frank is saying is true, like, or I think this is what he's trying to say, if it goes to a power 2, SEC swallows up the ACC, takes West Virginia, takes Oklahoma State, 32 teams, Big Ten does the same thing. That's your 64 teams that's going to play for playoffs and all that, because Sankey's already fired another shot with the playoffs. He said on Paul Feinbaum show that, hey, there's no Pac-12 anymore. We have to go back and look at this playoff. Now, how do you have the 6 guaranteed in because of conference just disappeared? So, yeah, Sankey doesn't play.
Well, it seems to me like SEC is sitting fat and happy. That's what I'm saying. Because what you're saying, right now they're in a good situation. Are they looking for anybody else right now? Yes or no?
In my opinion, that door, there's always phone calls. But you got to reach out. Say a Florida State, a Clemson, they're all making those phone calls into the SEC. Sankey has to then call the Florida, the South Carolina, the Georgia, the Auburn, all the teams that are in the vicinity of those football teams. He's got to convince them to vote to let Florida State or something. Because there's been a pact between Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and some of those teams right in that area, not to let any more of those teams into the SEC. So okay. I would say the phone's always available.
Yeah, I think one of the for me the takeaway of Rooster's talking about just shows you the politics, the power politics of this. The Big Ten and SEC don't have to call anybody. Other teams are calling them. Look how long. Look at the Big 12. They courted Colorado and Arizona. They made the calls. I'm not criticizing the Big 12, but this scenario that you laid out about the possibility of eventually going to 2 mega conferences with absorption probably makes a lot of sense. The other thing I'd point out is I've looked at data. I don't know what I would do if I were the athletic director at Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, or Stanford. The Pac-5, the Power 5 conferences, roughly in their athletic revenue side of their budget, need it's between 30 and 40% of their budgets comes from media, conference, college bowls, all that stuff. And if you're at Cal and Stanford and Oregon State and Washington State, you're saying, how in the hell am I going to replace that? Even if the Mountain West and our 4 schools combine, how are we going to, because it's coming from the media for the most part, how are we going to replace that? It's a god-awful situation I wouldn't want to have to face.
And when I read,
I even brought that up too. Sorry,
no,
Wolf.
it's all right.
I even said the same thing you just said. Like, well, if the Pac-12, or let's call it the Pac-4, if they want to survive at all, they're not going to be able to pull in teams that are going to want to join their conference. What they're going to have to do is combine their rest of their schools with whatever conference they possibly can. And it's actually funny because the one and only conference I said was the Mountain West.
Yeah.
Why not combine the rest of the Pac-4 and the Mountain West? Because to be honest, I think that could survive. I really do. I really do think if the Mountain West and the Pac-4 combine, it would be able to survive.
Yes and no. Cal could not survive in the Mountain West. Cal's got too big of an operating budget. The Mountain West doesn't generate the money, which I don't think there would still be enough money.
True.
Even adding those 4, which you probably won't get Cal and Stanford in anyways, to the Mountain West. Stanford going to the Mountain West is not a viability for me. That's just my opinion. I think they'd be independent before they would get to the Mountain West. Oregon State, Washington State, I think they need to, say, hey, please take us. At this point, if the Big 12 is not sniffing, the Big 10's and the ACC's not. But I definitely think that Cal and Stanford are not Mountain West material. Cal because of expenses, and Stanford because of prestige and what they bring. That's just my 2 cents. But Keith, let me say this to you: when Texas and Oklahoma said they were leaving the Big 12, I stood right next to Shane Lyons, and he said, I feel really confident they won't be leaving for 4 or 5 years because of the contract that we had all out there. And they have to pay this huge amount of money, $225 million, I think it was, something like that. And they didn't have to pay any of that, close to it, to leave because of all the conference realignment and stuff. But I remember Shane Lyons saying, they're going to have to pay all this kind of money. And it didn't come to fruition. So I'm saying this ACC, I don't know if they could come up with something saying that, hey, we can get out of that and not pay that kind of money. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what happened, but I know that Shane Lyons is very confident he was wrong.
Yeah, when you get those lawyers involved and the ACC with that grant of rights, it is a noose around every team's neck. But at the end of the day, if Florida State and Clemson and Miami get together and say, we're done, and they get their lawyers, if they want out, they're going to get out. And I guarantee you it'll be at half of what we're hearing. They'll get out.
Oklahoma, Texas.
Yeah, Oklahoma, Texas.
What is the buyout?
Yeah.
What is the buyout for the ACC teams?
Ultimately, it cost them about $300 million.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the buyout to get out of the grant of rights. The ACC owns their TV. Wherever Florida State, Clemson, if they went somewhere, the ACC gets their money. They don't even.
Their home game revenue.
That's what Shane Lyons said, and it's not happening. So that's what I'm trying to get at. Shane Lyons told me the same thing. That's for you guys. That was a former athletic director, and so when he was there at WVU, and when they said it, he stood there. I'm telling you, he raised up his chin, he smiled, and said, "If they go to the SEC before the 4-year period is up, they will pay. We will get their money. The Big 12 will get their money. Not happening." That's all I'm saying. I don't, maybe.
It's a whole debacle. This whole entire thing has gotten way too far out of hand. And to be honest, I don't think it's necessarily all on the NCAA's fault. I think a lot of the athletic departments are just sitting on their butts waiting to see what happens. And that's the biggest mistake. Honestly, a way for us to that we could have avoided all this NIL problems and all this conference realignment. And as soon as NIL was legalized, people should have started jumping ship right there.
Yeah, it's called leadership. You be proactive rather than reactive, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's
the
they didn't do it.
The downfall is they were all reactive. Big 12 was more proactive. I'd say the SEC was one of the original proactives there. So with Texas A&M, getting them in there, securing that, and again, and backing up with their product on the field. And now it's even going through basketball, becoming a strong product of the SEC. When you look at your Alabamas, you look at your Auburns, and the likes of the teams there. So with that all being said, and talk is spin and twisted, man, I wanted to get into the quarterback talk, but it's not happening this week. We'll have to save that for next week. But I will tell you this, man, is a SEC sitting fat. I'd be nervous if I was in the ACC right now. Not sure what's going on. Not that it means that they're going to lose. I don't know if they will or not, but there's some turbulent waters coming.
I'm nervous. Yeah. I think Pitt will be fine where they go, but the thing is, I'm worried about all the other ACC teams who may not have a place to go, because let's just face it, where's Duke going to go?
Well, you don't think that Duke basketball can help themselves with that?
I mean, absolutely, but do you want to rely on a basketball school, because that's pretty much what Duke is? Do you want to rely on a basketball school to save your university? If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. I mean, but there's other teams like let's say Syracuse or even Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's smarter than a textbook, but who's going to take them?
It's good.
Do they bring value to whatever conference they're being in? Because let's face it, let's say Georgia Tech goes to the SEC or SEC. They're never going to win a game in football ever again.
No. Well, you said the same thing about Kentucky, and Stoops is out there. He's making noise. And then you got South Carolina with Beamer. You know what? I see getting excited over there. They just
Hey, Wolfman, my coach is using it as a recruiting tool. He gave his speech the other day before we started practice, and at SEC Media Days, talking about South Carolina is in a secure conference. We're not like the Pac-12 teams that disappeared, and we're not on shaky ground like the ACC. That's a recruiting tool. He's selling that to players.
Yeah, all right, that makes a lot of sense, and
that does make a lot.
And honestly, when WVU was looking to jump into Pac-12, they were all saying that about WVU, besides a lot of other stuff. But they were like, hey, you're not sure where they're going to end up. It's not there. So, again, fellas, great stuff. I'm going to go around here. Frank, close it up. Close your end up.
Well, the only purpose I had today, and I again appreciate being on, is that we can all be giddy and a great game, a parlor game of which school's going to go somewhere. I think if you think about it a little bit, and you guys obviously have, you got schools like Florida State saying, I'm leaving. Well, where are they going? There's no place to go, Miami. And it's just a complex landscape. So I would say to the West Virginia fans, yeah, we've got stability. It's great. But when you look at the numbers, you've got a huge hill to keep on. You're going to have to run faster and faster and faster. And I would conclude with this. Rather than being depressed, I'm impressed. Given the environment, you look at WVU's recruiting, the schedule that WVU has this year, there's a lot to prove. And I think we've got to say to ourselves, look, this is going to be tough. We can be competitive, but let's be realistic. Let's look at the numbers the way they are.
All right. Talk, go ahead.
So I think what a lot of people are doing right now is I don't want to say overreacting to a lot of this conference realignment thing, who's going to go who. Well, it's not even really overreacting. It's they're not focusing on the right aspects of conference realignment. And like we all said before, the biggest aspect in conference realignment is the mental health of the athletes. I honestly don't see how universities and athletic directors and coaches, more or less less coaches, more higher ups, but this thing has just gotten way too out of hand. And to be honest, what's going to end up happening to me is this is probably going to turn up into a big court battle for teams to leave and try to get out of the grant of rights, because even from what I heard from a few Florida State fans, like you guys said earlier, they're looking for loans to get out. They're looking at Congress to tell them to do something. It's just it's bad. It's very bad. We're gonna end up where every team, in my opinion, is gonna end up having to fend for themselves and make their own schedules and stuff like that. There's not even going to be a conference anymore. There's not going to be any SEC or Big Ten or anything like that. It's going to get so bad where you schedule your own opponents, and then when it gets to the postseason, we'll tell you what you can and cannot do.
Interesting. All right there, Twisted. What's your take? Because you've been sitting fat and happy the entire hour.
Well, I will say this. As a guy, I worked in NASCAR for 20 years of my life. And I saw it go through changes, chasing money, getting away from its traditions. They just changed year after year, changed point systems, tried to create playoffs to compete with the NFL. Don't take away all the traditions. Don't try to compete with the NFL as a college football. Make sure we don't grow so fast that we're not really thinking about what we're doing before we do it, because you just damage the product by doing what. Sometimes you can just move way too fast.
Very good, very good. Good points, everybody. Hawkeye, man, close this out.
Well, I kind of feel for some of these schools like the 4 in the Pac-12. They may drop. They may not be Power 5 football teams anymore. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it very well could happen. Some schools have got an opportunity to move up into Power 5 football with Cincinnati, Houston, UCF. So, there's positives and there's negatives. But I think at the rate that things are going, we're losing the tradition of college football. We're losing the purity. Well, we've kind of lost the purity completely.
That's gone, man. It's gone.
It's gone.
Oh, yeah, that's gone.
But tradition, it's just moving so fast that it's going to hit a wall at some point. And pieces are going to fly everywhere. And who's going to decide? How are we going to clean all this up? I mean, it's just going too fast.
Well, like everything, I'm going to say this, and this is how I'm going to just cap this off in my own way. Everything goes to court. Anything nowadays.
Did not just say that.
Yeah, I'm not agreeing with Nick. Let's just say.
Yes, you are. You're agreeing. You don't want to. You have to.
Everything will go to court. But I will say this for Mountaineers talking about it. Caps are everything for a school WVU size. Right now, in this world of haves and have-nots, a cap is essential and everybody having the same kind of play. And I will say this. West Virginia and other schools like West Virginia who have been struggling with where they've been and not winning, not always going to a bowl game, you better start winning because nobody wants to take losers. And if
that's what I said to Pitt fans.
If this is getting tighter and tighter, then the noose is getting tighter. You better start winning, and that means that's immediately. And again, I would sit there and say, Twisted, you guys are in great shape with the SEC. I'd say the ACC, I'm very much concerned. I'm very much concerned with Stanford being in the ACC. I really am. I don't like it. It just does not work. And it's kind of like the same thing with Rutgers going to UCLA or USC. It doesn't work. And I can say the same thing about anything in the Big 12 going out there to ASU, WVU. It really is. I mean, it's not ideal, is what I'm trying to say. It's not ideal. But right now, it's about survival. And like anytime you see anyone that's in trouble, just like, when the FBI comes in and they raid up the whole, the bad people, they're all tough together, but when they pull them apart, they want to survive. They want to survive, and they turn. Well, that's how these schools are as well. They turn just like the Pac-12 was holding together. Oh, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. They turned when they had to. And I'm not saying that's bad on them. I'm just saying that's reality. And the reality is schools like West Virginia, I'm going to say this as well, talking spit, schools like Pitt, or the AC, you better be good. And you better have your T's crossed and your I's dotted. And gentlemen, I'm going to leave it off with that. And I thank you for today. We'll see you next week. I really love you guys coming on, talking with these other conferences, because we got to know what the whole college landscape is. I think even Talk is Pitt brought some good points today. I'm not going to give him too much. Twisted Rooster, I think he's just really he's in a good situation, but he's got very, very intelligent points on where you're sitting from it, because I think that is the way, exactly how you're looking, Twisted, is exactly how the SEC top people are looking at it. And that's good for SEC. That really is. And Big Ten, Frank, I think your Big Ten people are sitting pretty fat too, to be quite honest with you. So those Power 2 conferences could be a real reality if they don't go ahead, put caps, and find a way to survive. All right? Is that good enough? Does that sum it up for today? Gentlemen, thank you. Hawkeye, Talkis Pitt, Frank Fear, Twisted Rooster. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week. God bless. Always
enjoy it, guys.
Always open to jump on here as well. Take care, guys. See you now.
Great show.
Oh, I think it was a great show. Absolutely. All righty. Well, there you go. Frank, thanks for everything you do, the information that you brought. I think it was very excellent. I'm going to go ahead here and see. Yep, I'm going to just hold you for 1 second. Got Joey here. He just got in here. Conference realignment. What does Joey say here? Conference realignment means a sense of urgency for teams to become relevant or left behind. I think that's what I just said. I wonder if he's playing off of that. But West Virginia's got to get good, man. They got to win. They don't have to win championships, but they got to win. And I think the noose is getting tighter. And if they're going to a top 3, if they're going to a top 2, boy, you got smaller rooms for mistakes, smaller rooms, and that's just the way it is. And that's just calling it the truth. Am I right?
Yep. No, absolutely.
All right. Well, Frank, thanks for bringing that up. We're going to be back here on Monday with you for the Frank Fear Hour. And what are we going to talk about? Because we just blew this one up today.
You're right. I got to go back to the drawing board. Send me your ideas, Wolf. I always enjoy doing research when you give me assignments. So we'll come up with something between now and Monday. The
only reason why I enjoy giving you assignments is because you're an academiac, and you're the type of guy that always gave me assignments growing up. So I'm happy to go ahead. All right, brother. Take care now. Have a good day.
Okay, buddy. You take care.
Yep. See ya. All right, Frank Fear. Man, that was awesome. I'll tell you what. Well, you're welcome, Talking. See, here's the Pitt guy. I only let him out here because he doesn't like his own fan base. All right, and he's smart. And we all have to understand, I don't like Pitt. Don't like him. Backyard brawl. Don't tell me I don't like Pitt, because I don't like Pitt. But I like Talkis Pitt. And there you go. So there you go. And let's go ahead. We're going to do a really quick breakdown on Rodney Gallagher. I promised it. And I got 15 minutes here. I could take a little bit longer. Let me find him here on the schedule, as I call it. There he is, Rodney. And listen, so Rodney Gallagher, and boy, I'm probably going to catch a lot of heat on this one. But that's what I do, right? So let's pop it up here. This is his high school playing here, and you're going to see him a lot at mostly at quarterback. But he's got some talents that I see, like back in the day when, a Tavon stopping on a dime. He's only like 5'10" and a half, and really, really boy, I tell you, I think he's going to have something special. Now, you heard Neil Brown talk about him, saying that he's a little more physical at blocking, that he was surprised because he never saw him block because he was a quarterback and he wasn't asked to block. Or you see him as a defensive back. He's just a really good athlete. And, Rodney says that his sister is a cheerleader at Pitt. Oh, sorry you guys missed out on that there. Talk is Pitt. And, you guys, Pitt lost out, Penn State lost out. So WVU, kudos to Neil Brown. But let's check this out now, because I think I got something to say here. And I'm thinking about how I want to word this and do this right. Well, I screwed that up here. Let's take it back here, over this way. And then let's bring it here. Yes, there we go. And blow that baby up. All right. So you see over here, Rodney's the quarterback. Let's start off right there. He's quarterback. Now, he stops on the dime. He lowers his body. He lowers his center of gravity. Okay. He's right here. He's quarterback. He's going to play wide receiver for WVU. At least that's what all the reports were. All right. And he's going to be a wide receiver. And I said, let's not go ahead and get in front of Rodney coming in saying he's going to be an impact on the team this year. I thought that he's kind of a above average player, he's above average player. So 4-star, all that goes together. I thought he certainly could, but you never know the mind of a freshman. They're truly all-stars here in high school. But when you get up there and it's, you're going against 22-year-olds, 21-year-olds, and you're only 18 years old, there's, and physical. Now, Neil Brown said he gained 14 pounds the last couple of months. He's more physical. He's doing some cool things. So what does that tell me? I'm thinking back to C.J. Donaldson last year as a true freshman, came as a tight end, turned out to be a running back, and Neil kept bringing him along in name in his press conferences. You're like, well, who's this C.J. Donaldson? He keeps talking about being a running back. And eventually, by the end of camp, Neil Brown saying he's going to play. And I think that's what he's going to do. Because I thought he handled CJ masterfully the way he brought him in, because you don't want to throw a ton of pressure on a freshman. All right? I think I got that point clear. But let's go ahead here. Watch this with Rodney. He is a runner. Look at him drop his weight right there. It's natural. It's everything about him is so athletic. I mean, I looked at it. I have to smile. Again, the presence, he's going to sprint out. He's going to avoid the defender to the sideline. And now out of the side of his eye, he has not only the poise, but he has the presence. As nothing's too big for him. His surroundings aren't too big for him here in high school, on the high school field. And, whoop, he's going to stop and pull up. Ooh, Tavon-ish. Right? There you go. Nice. Running the ball as a quarterback. And I'm not sure I'm crazy about the stop it in the end zone. As a young lad, I'm a Rodney Gallagher fan, though. Again, watch it. Look at the juke. Oop. Oh, there you go. Dropping that weight down so ever fast and smoothly that he's under control. Even when he puts his hand down on the ground, he's easily comes back up. I've never seen a guy who can really lift up that upper body when it's extended outside of his center of gravity and do it so smoothly and reliably. And again, you watch him, he's got some speed, so he's got that receiver speed. I love the presence, That's something I would do on defense. They're trying to tackle a young Rodney Gallagher. Excellent, right here. Okay, so now you're looking, they got one back, it's weak, so you got trips to the field, one back or receiver to the boundary. All right, it's 3-by-1. Running back is gun weak. You're going to see him. Oh, he's going to take, and he's going to go ahead. He's going to run the ball. Now, he is not a quarterback. He's not a quarterback. And this is a lot like what I see with Garrett Green, as a guy likes to run. If it's not there, he wants to run right away. And that's what Garrett, I told you when I broke him down against Oklahoma State, he has to work on his drop back in the pocket work, because he likes to run so quickly, and you can't do that all the time. You can't be a one-trick pony. I believe that's what he's working on in camp, and what the coaches are working on with him as well for Garrett Green. But that's what I see with Rodney. I kind of see a lot of Garrett Green, but look at the moves. He's deceptively fast, and he goes ahead. He makes great moves. Look at this, though. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. Look at his field of vision. He's seeing the entire field, and a couple more plays are going to show this, because I really is like, you know, he's just got probably one of the best pure athleticism I guess I've seen in a number of years. Pure athleticism, and I love him being on the offensive side for the points that he can score. Let's go here. He's going with the read zone. He sees it. He opens up. He reads that linebacker. Linebacker runs to the running back, and he's going to go ahead and avoid it and get in. There's a couple other plays that I like how he dives there, so everything's important to him. But watch this. So he's going to take the keep. He's coming back. He avoids, and he's going to keep on trucking to the end zone, scoring that. He's a competitor, man. He is a competitor, and I like this. Again, you see him. Oh, look. Do you see that right there? Do you see how he just sees a guy coming from? That's peripheral vision. Okay, when you see a field of vision and all the great quarterbacks, running backs, whoever the runners are, all right? And if you're a defensive player and you got a great field of vision, you're a safety, you're a DB, and you're seeing that, or even a defensive line and understanding what's going on. It's so important to see the field and interpret it so you can react. And that's what he's doing. This is pure, again, I keep talking about athleticism right here. And let's take a look at it. I'm going to get slow motion coming on up. Oh, you know, it's like this. It's right here. Look at that. He avoids. Look at it. Look at him avoid. Right there. He doesn't give it, and he's off. Oh, I love it. He drops his center of gravity down. It's a natural shift. Look at that. Look at that. It totally takes it. It's like breaking ankles, man. That's what you talk about. Rodney Gallagher is an ankle breaker. That's what he is in this position. Watch, and you'll see. Again, the guy just missed it right. Now, what, did you see the hand down? And that's what I'm talking about, with that sense of balance that he has. Kind of like those weebles, wobbles, but they don't fall down. No, he's not a weeble, wobble guy, but he don't fall down. That's what Rodney Gallagher does. And he comes out, and look at this, the vision. And now, do you see? He's got strength. What did Neil Brown say? That he's stronger than you think, because he looks thinner here, but he's gained that 14 pounds, but he plays stronger. Well, that's what you just saw right here with what? He's going out again. He's releasing on the quarterback. Coming, look at this. He changed his field. He's seeing defenders come in, and he saw a blocker coming from his peripheral view again. Peripheral view. Like, wow, man. I'm seeing him coming. I'm going to go cut backwards. I'm going to take 2 yards back so I can go ahead and come around the edge in front of the blocker. And then I'm going to rip through arm tackles and get in to the touchdown or come extremely close to it. Again, let's watch it in slow-mo. Defensive lineman, not a chance against that athlete. Two dudes going to run into each other. Not happening. He sees peripheral vision. I mean, that offensive player was back. I mean, it was almost behind him. And you have eyeballs in the back of his head, and then he takes the presence. And this is really cool, man. You know, I watched him live, but I never really broken him down and looked at it like I'm doing right now. And I got to tell you, I'm fired up. Now I know why Penn State and Pitt wanted him so bad. Here he is as a DB, and the reason why I put this one in was because I talked about it. He picks this ball up like it's nothing. You know, when we see a bouncing football, it's not easy. I remember trying to go ahead and grab a bouncing football and run with it. And as soon as I grabbed it, I got whacked. The ball and I went up straight up and over, and I threw the ball right in the air. This is an athlete. This is athletic as heck, and I love this. In fact, WVU needs a lot more of these type of players. And watch, look at the scoop and score. It's just so easy for him. This game, these high school kids, they're not even close to being in his range. He's so far ahead of them. It's like a Major Harris. It's like a Pat White. You know, that type of thing. Right here, you're going to see him. Now, watch this. This is a play here. He breaks it. Now, whoa. Okay, so now he's like on defense, right? And now you see him. He recognizes the play right away. And his field of vision, he recognizes the player, and he blows it up. That's what you would say. So you recognize so you can react. Quick, snap, right? That's what you want to do. But you got to recognize it first before you can react. But you want to have it as a 1-2 combo. Get up, gets in the way, blocks, understands the game. This guy understands the game. He understands, again, he's going to blow it up, going to cause a problem with the ball. The defender blows up, and then he's there to block. I mean, that's just cool. I know I'm talking like high, but I'm telling you, I haven't seen a dude like this in a long time for WVU. I'm talking about. All right, when I say Tavon-esque, he's not Tavon yet. All right, but he is esque, meaning is that he kind of reminds me of him the way he moves. You don't get a solid hit on this guy because he's always shifting. That's why Tavon survived so long and so little, because you couldn't get a direct shot on him. You couldn't get the meat on him, right? Well, that's kind of what I see with Rodney is. He's always shifting. And that right there, to me, tells me a whole lot of stuff. Again, I'm not saying he's Tavon, okay? What I'm saying is he reminds me of some of his abilities. Tavon's Tavon. This kid's got a long ways to go before that. But watch this here. This reminds me of Major Harris because you know why? I watched this of Major Harris. In fact, I'm trying to remember. This is what he used to do against our varsity when he was down on scout team his first year as a freshman. Watch Rodney here. That's a nice field, by the way, huh? He avoids it. His hand goes down again. And now look at this. He's still looking. So he just ran to his left, avoided a tackle, put his hand down, has to regather, come back up again, and then see the field. This is truly showing me this guy is something. I'm really excited about Rodney Gallagher up there. And I'm thinking right now, if I'm watching this here, and I'm watching this, I'm saying, wow, he might be able to impact this WVU offense because I've always held back. And I'm going to wait to see what Neil Brown says week to week in camp and through this preseason. And if he keeps coming back, you watch. If Neil Brown keeps saying, well, Rodney Gallagher, he already said it once here in the first week. He's gained 14 pounds. He's blocking better than he ever expected. He's more physical than he ever thought. And he has the talent, and he gained 14 pounds. All right, that's something else. So that's telling you. Let's see what he says this upcoming week at the end here and see how it goes. You're going to be able to tell yourself. You don't need me. And again, we'll keep going here. I love this. Rolling to his left, not there. Guy behind him, he avoids it. You know why? Because he's at a different level. Not even on the same level as these high school kids. Sees White down the field and throws it up. And let's go. Now, here he is, returning a punt. And we're getting towards the end here, so bear with me. But this is cool right there. You're going to see him get the ball once again off the ground with ease. What these athletes do, just pick that ball up and run with it, scoop and run. Oh, look at that. He's coming around. Now, watch this. Oh, he starts the measure. Here comes the measure. With everything going on, with all 11 guys chasing after him, he takes it from one side of the field to the other, just like the last play. But now he's looking. Now he's seeing who's setting up blocks for him. Now he's measuring. You see him. He's not at full stride now. He's taking it. He is above the situation mentally. All right? The situation is not too big for him. He is above this, and this is how he is. Watch his measured strides. Right? Look at it. He's measuring. I mean, he's setting up the blocks. He's seeing the field. He's got a field vision, and that is just downright cool. Here we go. One more time. Going to set it up, get the ball all the way. He's 3 yards from the sidelines, coming around. No one's near his speed. But again, he starts to measure because he has poise on the field in the heat of battle. Oh, you gotta love that. That's the difference. You gotta understand. With athletes, when you see a dude just run into somebody because he's young. And when I was showing Oklahoma State, you saw Rango, the quarterback for Oklahoma State, just running into people, not trying to juke. He has no poise. The game was bigger than him. The speed was bigger than him. Well, the speed's certainly not bigger than Rodney Gallagher at the high school level. Now, we'll have to see about the college level, but regardless, there's fast for him now. He will get there because this kid's just too athletic not to. So that's just a given. But again, he's measuring. I like he's setting up the blocks. So cool. And measure. Look at that. I mean, he's seeing it all. That tells me a lot about this young guy. Tells me that this young guy likes to compete. He likes to play football. So if you're a competitor and you like to play football, it's just huge. Just huge, man. And I think it's really cool. So, all right. Well, we got anybody else on here? Thanks to Talkers Pit. Thanks to Twisted Rooster. Sounds like he's a little twisted. Thanks to Hawkeye there, Keith Hawkins. Thanks to Frank Fear. I think it was a great show, great talk. I think we need more of it. And anybody else here, anybody else that wants to come on, go ahead. We'll figure it out. I could drop this. You know what? I'm not going to drop it. It's 1:30. We're into the day far enough. All right. So tomorrow I have some special guests. One is it's going to be Minuch from Rocky Minuch out there in Arizona. Going to talk to us about what's going on there at Arizona State, U of A, and all the things that are happening and joining the Big 12. He's out there. He's been there. Minuch has been out there for 20, 30 years, former NFL player from Rocky Minuch. He's Dan Minucci. He's going to be coming on tomorrow as a special guest. Going to break down a little more Lee Kpogba film. We'll see who else is out there, see what's going on, and to talk what's happening. Every day something is new. But, man, we're just having fun bringing this to you. I hope you enjoyed that Rodney Gallagher. Maybe I'll pick up another player because we're getting towards the beginning of the season, so I got to pick up on my recruits breakdown. But Rodney Gallagher, you can get excited about that cat. That dude can play football, and no wonder why what's his name for Penn State so pissed off at him right there. Franklin, the head coach. And I also understand Narduzzi's probably a little bit pissed. That's good because I don't like Narduzzi anyway. So the heck with Narduzzi. But we appreciate everybody that contributed to this show today. Anything else for the good of the cause? Remember, Mike Dunlop, let's go ahead and see if we can help him out. Whatever, if you have $1, if you have $10, I don't know what GoFundMe is. I think you can give $5. I'm not sure, but if you can do it, he's well deserving of it. He's helped a lot of people throughout his life. He's cared. He's a very caring man. And, if you can imagine for 3 years you lose your kidneys and you have to go on dialysis 3 times a week, 4 hours at a time. He'd call me and I'd be like, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm sitting here on dialysis, and it's just draining him. And then you saw in February that video I showed of him and the hometown hero. That's just who he is and what he's always done. And he's real tight. He's a football brother. Coach Neal and him are really tight. And he's done so much. He used to be a president of the National Football Foundation, the Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame. Used to go ahead and get on there. And so just a good guy. And again, he's not looking for pity, but he does need your help if you can give him $1 or $2 or more. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. We're going to hear from TD, Traylon Davis. It's been a good day. Good talking. Really enjoy talking to some folks from other conferences because that's what we do here. The Wolfman's Call, where the truth is always part of the call. Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Traylon Davis. I'm from Jackson, Ohio, and when I'm back home, you will find me at my local Parmar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more. We are Gold and Blue proud, and we are Par-Mar stores.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Stationers, #1 office supplier in West Virginia. Always in stock. How many? The anywhere, anytime chargers, powering a connected world. Never buy AA batteries again. Rechargeable 500 times plus. Paul Mini AA USB lithium battery, as easy to charge as your cell phone. Sustainable energy. Stay charged. Go green, save green. Feel the power of Paul. Order now at paulmini.com.